The integration circuit in human design. This is the energy of self-empowerment and self-preservation. I'm going to talk about this circuit in today's episode and how it impacts you, whether you have this energy defined in your chart or not. I'm also going to talk about the emotional implications of this energy, as well as how it impacts you in business and in your career. Whether you have this circuitry in your chart or not, you will be impacted by this energy. It'll either be your own curriculum, depending on what you have defined here in your chart, or it will be brought to you by your relationships, by other people, and by planetary transits. So we do all experience this energy. We just experience it in different ways. Welcome to Heart-Centered Human Design, Emotional Intelligence and Conscious Business, the show that empowers heart-centered entrepreneurs to use human design and emotional intelligence to create meaningful success, work-life balance, and transform their passion and purpose into impact and prosperity. I'm your host, Vanessa Naja, human design mentor and business coach, and I love helping you understand and embody this system so you can be on purpose and fulfill your potential. If you haven't already had an experience of how powerful human design can be to solve your unique problems based on your unique chart, be sure to check out my free offer, Bite-Size Human Design, where I will provide you practical and implementable guidance based on your unique problems and based on your chart. You send me a chart, you ask me your question, or provide me with a problem that you would like guidance on, and I will send you a voice note with a practical, implementable solution based on your unique human design. You can check it out at vanessanaja.com/bitesize, and I'll also link it in the show notes. So we're currently in the series about human design circuitry, which is how your human design chart is wired, how your energy is wired. And in episode 35 of this season, season 2, I go more into how circuitry actually works. So if you want a review on that, I recommend listening to that episode. And today we're covering the integration circuit in human design. Integration is technically its own circuit, separate from all of the other circuits in human design, but we do often lump it in with individuality, which I talked about in last week's episode. The reason why we do this is because every single one of the gates in the chart that forms the integration circuit is an individual gate. However, the way that they operate together is pretty unique because the integration circuit is all about personal survival and self-empowerment in the now. It connects the energy resource of the sacral center to the survival instinct of the spleen center, to the identity interaction of the G center, and to the communication and action of the throat center. This circuit is the most complex wiring and area of the chart, and if you're fairly new to human design, you do not need to worry about all of that. You will still get plenty of juicy and beneficial information from this episode, and if you are more advanced in human design, I will talk more about how this works. So the core theme of the integration circuit is really about survival through self-awareness. And this can often be considered selfish energy, especially when somebody has a lot of this. Somebody that doesn't have any of it might find it hard to understand. But remember, the point of this is personal survival. And that does require some selfishness and really being present with yourself in the moment now. So this can be considered an enlightened sense of selfishness. And it's just something to be aware of. There is a deep connection between intuition, movement, body awareness, and self-trust inherent in the integration circuit when it is operating in its high expression. And now remember, with human design, things can be operating on a low expression, on a high expression. It's on a spectrum. And really our goal is to step into the highest expression of our own energy because we are broadcasting this out into the world. Other people are picking it up from us. And that really is our goal as we go through that deconditioning process. It's the highest expression of our own designs. Because integration circuitry is so self-focused, It can be really resistant to outside influence. When you see somebody with a lot of this circuitry in their chart, you're going to know that they generally like to work independently, probably. They are not necessarily going to enjoy feedback from others, especially when it has not been requested. And they do not like to be overly influenced by others, especially in their decision making process and how they live their life. This energy is also fiercely independent, and there is a tendency to like spending time alone, doing your own thing, being self empowered in the present moment, in the now. And this is not anything personal to other people. This is just an inherent part of this energy and how this energy is designed. Learning to coexist with other people when you have this energy in your chart while also really maintaining your own personal integrity is a key aspect of really stepping into the highest expression of your integration circuitry. Now, this circuit is made up of 4 individual gates, each one of them in a different center, that connect in a very unique way to make up integration. So we'll start with gate 10. This is the behavior of the self, the love of being oneself, and it sits on the G center, the center of love, identity, and direction. This is the self-love gate. Now, remember, these things do operate on a binary. So when it's operating in a high expression, this is the love of being oneself, loving oneself, behaving as the self. In the low expression, this can be the opposite. This can be self-loathing. This can be not loving being oneself or loving living as oneself. And again, the goal is to step into the high expression of this energy. And then let's move on to gate 34. This is in the sacral center. This is the gate of power. This is living in response, being busy in response, being independent, being self-empowered. And people that have this energy tend to like to be really busy. It's really an important aspect of their life. And I know this because I do have this gate defined in my chart. And then moving on to gate 57, the gate of intuition, which sits on the spleen center, the center of survival instinct. The most intuitive gate in the chart is gate 57. And this is very much about surviving based on listening to your intuition. Now, there is a fear in this gate because it sits on the spleen center, which is an awareness center. And the fear of this is the fear of the future or the fear of the unknown. And when you have this energy defined, it is super important to really be present in the now and responding in order to hear your intuition and also in order to really overcome that fear. So if you have this gate defined and you're constantly scared of the unknown or afraid of the future, that means you really do want to come back into the present moment, into your body, and really connect to your intuition because that is going to be your guiding force. That is going to guarantee your survival. And lastly, we have gate 20, the gate of contemplation, the gate of the now, sits on the throat center, communication and action. And it's very much about being present in the moment, seeing life in the present moment, contemplation, and being in the now. This is very much about present moment awareness. Everything integration really is about being present, being in the moment, being in the now. So we have 4 gates in the integration circuit, and they also create 4 different channels. Now, some of these gates, when you put them together, they create channels that are not part of integration. They are part of other individual circuitry, which I'll be talking about in the next 2 weeks. But these specific 4 channels is what make up the integration circuit. So we're going to start with the channel of awakening. This connects gate 10 from the G center, identity and direction, to gate 20, contemplation, presence in the now. And this is the leadership channel of the integration circuit. Now, each one of the subcircuits does have a leadership channel and a creative channel, and this is the leadership. This is about higher principles. It's about self-love, being in alignment in the moment with yourself, and it's about moving through life by being an example to others. This is how they lead, by being self-empowered, self-loving, being present in the now, and guiding by example. There is an emotional challenge that does come with the channel of awakening, and that is that anybody that has a connection between the G center, the identity and direction, and the throat, when they speak, they are speaking from the center of who they are. They are speaking from their identity and direction. And if they're criticized for what they say, they can really take this in on a very deep level. So there is a lot of vulnerability here to criticism. And it's important to be aware of that because when somebody with this channel is criticized for what they say, they can kind of go into their shell and stop expressing themselves. And it's so important to not take these things personally and to really be centered into your identity and in your direction. And the right people will hear what you have to say. This is projected energy. So, what you have to share through your voice is going to be best received by those people that invite that out of you, that really want to hear what you have to share. So you want to be careful about just blurting out or saying whatever you want to say, and really just being aware, is the timing right? Does it really need to be said? Is the audience right when expressing yourself with the channel of awakening? Moving on to the 5710, the channel of perfected form, connecting the survival instinct of the spleen center to the identity and direction of the G center. So connecting gate 57, the most intuitive gate of the chart, to the self-love of gate 10. And this is very much about creating beauty through the behavior of the self when following your intuition. And a lot of time, people with this energy are really amazing at creating beautiful spaces. Think of interior designers, think of architects. This can be really, really artistic energy. And this is the creative channel of the integration circuit. So a lot of creativity through being deeply connected to the present moment, through your intuition, and the behavior that emerges through that. Then we have channel 3457, the channel of power, connecting the energy resource of the sacral center to the instinct and intuition of the spleen center. And this is a generated channel. Anybody that has this channel defined is going to be a generator type, potentially a manifesting generator, because they're going to have a defined sacral with this channel. Life force here meets that pure instinct and intuition of the spleen. And this is that raw power, that raw energy to survive. People that have this are often like super aware of what is happening around them. They can sense things before they happen. They can move really quickly. This is definitely an energy. A lot of martial artists have this energy because it's just so fast in response, super fast, intuitive response in the moment, in the now. And the important aspect of this, again, is about being consistently attuned to intuition, which does require that present moment awareness. And remember, the 57 does have that fear of the future. So if you're experiencing that fear of the future, the fear of the unknown, that means you're not in the present moment. And in order to really harness the power of this channel, you have to be in the present moment and deeply connected to your body. And that is what human design embodiment is about. And what really deconditioning is about being connected to the body and not being so overly identified with your mind, trying to make decisions from the mind, but really trusting your body, your vehicle knows what is best. And when you're deeply connected to that, you're going to make the best decisions and be on the correct trajectory in your life. And then the last channel of the integration circuit is the 3420, the channel of charisma. This one connects the energy resource of the sacral center to the communication and action of the throat center. And this is the one channel in the chart that is a purely manifesting generated channel. Anybody that has this channel, and I do, is going to be a manifesting generator because it connects a motor, the sacral center, to the throat. And now, before we get more into this, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between the aura of generator types and manifestor types. Now, technically, manifesting generators are considered generator types because anybody with a defined sacral center is a generator type first and foremost. And their auras are very open and enveloping, magnetic. They draw things in, and this is why we get things to respond to. Life brings us things with this magnetic open aura, and we respond to them. Manifestors, on the other hand, their aura is more closed, protective. It's sometimes called repelling, but really what it means is that it pushes outward because it is meant to be resistant to outside influence so that the manifestor can really be connected to their manifestor urges to initiate what they're here to initiate. Now, these auras are very different. And remember, our aura, the way our body graph is defined is going to determine exactly what our aura is. And our aura is not something that is static. It's not like you come into this life with this aura based on this design and it's going to be the same. No, it's going to change depending on your deconditioning process, where you are in this energy. The aura of somebody that's in a very low expression is going to be very different from somebody that's in a very high expression. And also, regardless of what type you are, your aura is going to be different depending on what else you have in your chart. Now, manifesting generators and anybody with a 3420 or anybody with a defined sacral and one of the other motors connected to the throat is a manifesting generator. A manifester is somebody who has an undefined sacral and a motor connected to the throat. So when it comes to manifesting generators, yes, they have that overall generator aura. And first and foremost, their strategy is to respond. However, they do also have these moments of activating the manifestor aura. Anybody with a 3420 or a motor connected to the throat, when they are really in that energy, and especially with that 3420, when that 3420 has responded, the aura can go a little bit more into this outward push because with the 3420, it's the most in the moment energy in design. It has to be busy doing something they love. It is super independent. It does not like to be interfered with. This is that like get out of my way energy. Like when somebody is their 3420 is really activated, they've responded to something and they are busy. They do not like anybody getting in their way. And that is very much manifestor energy. And so I know for myself, and I've had people tell me this as well, like when I'm really in my 3420 energy, like that pushes outward on the aura a little bit. People don't really want to interfere with me. It definitely operates a little bit more as the manifestor aura for a manifesting generator when those channels are really activated. Now, you're not going to find anything about this in traditional or source human design. This is just my personal lived experience and the lived experience of other people that I know that are manifesting generators and also my observation of those energies. Now, the 3420 is known as the channel of charisma, and they are charismatic when they are doing things that they absolutely love, that they have responded to. Now, plenty of people might have the 3420 and they're doing things because they should or because they feel pressured or they have to, and that is not doing something in response. There is not going to be any charisma that goes along with that. If they're not doing what they love, that charisma is not going to come out of them. This is one of the three most common channels in human design. And the reason for that is that the 34 and the 20 oppose each other on the wheel. So if somebody has either their sun, any of their sun placements, or their nodal placement in one of either the 34 or the 20, they're automatically going to have the other gate and therefore have the whole channel. So you do see this one quite often. And this is the only pure manifesting generated channel. There are other ways to be a manifesting generator, but this is the pure MG when you come across it, people with that 3420. Okay, so those are the four channels that make up the integration circuit. Now, you may have noticed that technically the 57 can also connect to the 20. However, that's not considered part of integration. That's part of the knowing circuit, which I will talk about in 2 weeks. And the 34 can also connect to the 10. Also not part of integration. That is part of the centering circuit. And I'll be going into that one next week. Now, let's talk a little bit about the emotional aspects of the integration circuit. This circuitry can have a lot of melancholy in it because melancholy is something that is inherent in individual gates. Individuality works in pulses. It is a part of divine timing. There is mutation and change here, and that mutation comes in a pulse. We don't know when it's going to come, and when there's nothing happening or nothing's going on, there can be a deep melancholy here. And that is a huge part of actually the creativity of individuality as well as integration. There's nothing wrong with being melancholy. Really, you want to just allow yourself to feel, have that experience without repressing, reacting, overindulging, and knowing that through that creativity will emerge over time. There is also a lot of sensitivity to tone and sound here. So people with integration, they can be super sensitive. They can really pick up those subtle shifts, especially if they have gate 57, of when somebody is speaking, and they can really pick up those subtle shifts in tone. And I remember one of my best friends growing up, her mom was always saying, "Oh, I don't like your tone." I wonder how much individual integration circuitry there was because there was so much sensitivity to the tone, to the sound, to what people are saying. And I know myself too, I can really easily be triggered by very subtle shifts in tone. So it's not necessarily what somebody's saying, it's how they're saying it. And I can really subtly pick up on those things. This can also show up again with any individual circuitry where you are very sensitive to, say, you're listening to a guided meditation and there is background noise. Like that can be really distracting and really throw you off if you have a lot of individual circuitry. I do have a hack for this though, because this does come up for me. And my hack is just to turn down the volume so you don't, obviously if it's a meditation you really want to do, you really love, just turn on the volume because you'll still get the benefit, but you might not be as distracted by anything else going on in the background. Also, with integration and individuality, being able to spend time alone to process and integrate your experiences is important. People that might have, say, a lot of tribal circuitry, but not a lot of integration may not understand this. And of course, aloneness does show up in a lot of other aspects of the chart as well. So it's not just in this circuitry. There can be a lot of not self themes like frustration and anger with the 3420 or bitterness with the projected channels in this circuitry when they feel pressure to conform or they feel overly controlled by the outside. This energy is very independent. So that is something that people with integration really do not like. And they also, like I said before, this is about enlightened selfishness. So they can be judged as selfish, especially by people that don't have any of the circuitry. So it's super important to understand this about your loved ones that have a lot of integration in their chart. They are wired to be self-preserving, and they're definitely the people that you want around if you're in an emergency. Somebody with integration is going to be the right person to have around. They're likely going to have the intuition, the response to know what to do, to act quickly in the now. So this is beneficial for everyone, even if it does come across as selfish sometimes. And if you have a lot of integration in your chart or a lot of individuality and people judge you as selfish, don't take that personally. This is actually part of how you're wired, and it is correct for you to be more self-focused. And when you're truly empowered in yourself in that way, that is also when you benefit others because they will be empowered through your own self-empowerment. This is primal instinctual energy. So you really, with this circuitry in your chart, you have to really learn to be present in the now, to trust your body, to trust your instincts, to trust your intuition in order to really make the most of the circuitry. Remember, it's intuition, it's primal, it's in the now, it's in response. And that presence is such an important aspect to really step into the highest expression of the integration circuit. Now, when it comes to relationships and business, because this is such independent circuitry, it can make relationships a little bit tricky sometimes. It can sometimes be perceived, as I've said before, selfish, distant, self-absorbed, even though that might not necessarily be the case. Also, if they're like super, in their response to something, especially with that 3420 and like doing their own thing, that energy can be perceived as kind of pushing outward and like, get out of my way, leave me alone. It can be a little bit of like that bull in the china shop energy. It's important to not take that personally. And if you're somebody that is in a relationship with somebody that has a lot of integration, and if you have integration, to be aware of that energy. Now, I'm somebody with my 3420, and I do have this unconscious, which means it's very much in my body. Like, I really do not like to be still. Most people with a 3420 are not going to want to be still, are not going to want to sit still, or like when we're slowed down, it's really like really frustrating. And its powerful energy can really come out. So engaging in practices that help you center, breathing, coming into the present moment, not being so focused on like speed and, getting out of there can be really helpful. I will say this can be really hard. I'm definitely aware, like when I'm in lines or waiting for things or stuck in traffic, this circuitry really rears its ugly head. I've gotten a lot better over time, and just allowing myself to breathe, to be present, to take that opportunity as a pause and just be with myself has helped me tremendously when that comes up for me. People that have a lot of integration circuitry are going to need partners that respect their autonomy, respect their need to be individual, to make their own decisions, not partners that are trying to fix them or influence them or trying to control or force anything onto them, because that will not be well received. In business and career, they do need freedom and autonomy as well. Like rigidity in a lot of structures or any kind of micromanagement is not going to fly very well with anybody that has individual circuitry. They may not love working in teams either. They may feel slowed down by working with others. And of course, there are other elements in the chart that will also point towards this. Just something to be aware of. It doesn't mean that they can't work in teams. And remember, there is leadership and integration, there is creativity. They contribute so much. However, the actual time spent working in groups might not be something that somebody with a lot of individual circuitry is really going to appreciate. So if you have strong individual circuitry in your chart, remember you want to really prioritize listening to your body, being in the moment, being present. Your instincts and your intuition will lead the way when you're present with yourself. You want to honor your own need for independence, find ways to connect with others authentically in a way that works for you. Remember that melancholy is going to be just part of this energy. You want to honor that melancholy. It's part of your creative process. It's okay. It will pass. And if you don't have a lot of integration circuitry in your chart, you will be picking this up from your relationships with others and as well as the planetary transits. You do want to support your loved ones that have this energy with their autonomy, with their individuality, with their need for independence. They might need a little bit more space than you need, and that is okay. It's not a personal thing. So, learning not to take that personally is really important. If they're really busy and they're really absorbed in their own thing, just leave them alone. If they snap at you because you disturb them, don't take that personally either. If you do have this circuitry, especially the 3420, I did talk about the generator versus the manifestor aura. The manifestor's strategy is to inform. It can be helpful if you're 3420, if you're super responded to something and you're busy, you're doing your thing in the now, let people know you don't want to be disturbed. This is one of those few instances. I'm not one of those people that believes that manifesting generators need to inform. People have mixed feelings about this. In the original source material, informing is not part of the manifesting generator strategy. There are lots of other people that believe manifesting generators should respond and then inform. I personally believe sometimes informing is helpful, but I don't inform on everything, and that definitely has worked for me. And lastly, if you don't have a lot of individual circuitry, you can really learn from the people that do and that are operating in their high expression about self-trust, trusting your intuition, trusting your body, and being present in the now. I'd love to hear from you. Do you have integration circuitry in your chart? Do you have the 3457, the 3410, the 5710, or the 1020? Please share with me how this shows up in your life, how it shows up in your relationship. And if you don't have if you don't have integration circuitry, what have you noticed about people that do and how does it impact you? Please comment wherever you are listening or watching and let me know. And don't forget to get your free bite-sized human design reading to find out more about how you can solve your own problems using your unique human design. And if you're not sure about your circuitry, you can ask me that as well. I will be more than happy to share with you about that. You can find it at vanessanaja.com/bite size. And you can also get your free customized human design purpose report at vanessanaja.com/free guide. Last but not least, please connect with me on Instagram at @vanessanaja and or Blue Sky at vanessanaja.com. I love to be in contact with you on social media, and I share valuable content on a regular basis, including about the individual circuit. So be sure to check that out. Thank you so much for listening.